Hey Greenwood, it's Robert with Greenwood Calendar, and this is kind of a bittersweet video. Julie has been serving Greenwood, I'm going to take a guess, close to 20 years in a variety of roles. See how close I was.
I'm too young. Almost 13, 12 and a half.
Okay, well you were 10 years with Charlie?
9 years as an assistant under Charlie.
Okay.
3.5 as a city manager.
Okay.
You just aged me a lot.
Yeah, we'll edit that out. So I understand that you'll be partnering up with Heather Simmons Jones.
Yeah, so Heather's working with MRB Group. They're a company founded in New York. They have offices in Texas, and they have an office in Charleston. So she's kind of heading up, the development of their local government services division in South Carolina.
Okay. When do you officially start working?
First day with them is May the 9th.
Okay.
Last day with the city is May the 6th.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you get a vacation for...
I'm going to use the last week as kind of a transitional week to give Ryan Thomas, as the interim city manager, some opportunity to kind of float without me here, but has the ability to use me as he needs that last week. So
Ryan is currently assistant,
right,
and he'll be serving as interim.
So eventually, City Council will open up the city manager position for all applicants, and how they decide to do that. Of course, it's going to be up to them, but I'm sure they will post it, on the Municipal Association and ICMA, which is the International City County Managers Association. Okay. And then Ryan, as the interim, he could apply if he chose to do so. He has a good love for Greenwood, even though he's not from here. Indiana. He's an outsider.
Yeah. What are you most proud of as city manager?
That's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough to just drill down on one thing, honestly. When Charlie was the city manager and I was the assistant city manager, there was so much that went into the Uptown and the growth of the Uptown. Since the time that I became the city manager, really, there's been so much uncertainty with COVID and then the infusion of CARES money and then American Rescue Plan dollars, and trying to determine what do you do with all that money and how does it fit and how do you move the city forward and position us to come out of a pandemic, but also to be better positioned in the future. I would say that probably as the city manager, probably my most proud moment would be that, during the pandemic, I thought our staff was extremely resilient. We also we had a net gain of business actually during the pandemic.
Wow.
So while we did have some businesses that closed, we had more businesses that opened. And so, and I feel that we weathered that storm very well. I'm not saying it had anything to do with me, but I do think that our staff was extremely resilient and kind of just went with the flow. Nobody had ever dealt with anything like this before, so just jumping in and doing whatever needed to be done to keep the ship floating, right?
Yeah, that's right. Well, yeah, I remember 2 days into the pandemic, Mayor Brandon Smith called up, said, "Hey, let's go do a video," and you and Brandon sat in where City Council meets.
Oh yeah.
And we did a video.
That's right, I do remember that.
Yeah. We had no idea it was going to be 2 years.
I know.
But
we also, during the time that I was the city manager, we had a lot of retirements at the department head level, and so again, resiliency of staff. I mean, a lot of new department heads, and then you also think about we had the mayor was elected just as I became the city manager.
That's right.
We also had Mr. Bass and Ms. Partlow are new on city council, so we've had a lot of new coming in the last 3 years, and I think it's been a really, it's bittersweet when people leave and they have tons of years of service, but it's also really rewarding when you can see that your staff can move up through the ranks and just keep on providing high level of service. So the moment I became the city manager, I met with every single department head and I said, "When are you retiring? I need to know." And I had everyone's date written down, and I said, start training somebody, because while there's no guarantee that your successor will become the next you, if they're not trained properly, they definitely won't.
Yeah, absolutely. But if you could redo something or something that you didn't like about being, I'm looking for the downside or any regrets?
Well, I wouldn't say I have any regrets. I would say that the downside of being the city manager was definitely just navigating something that we had never done before. I mean, that, and I think if you asked any city manager, you know, they would tell you it was challenging. We were being thrown, you know, curveballs left and right, and just trying to figure out the best way to navigate. I'll tell you, masks. That's probably the most divisive thing I've ever been a part of, ever. I mean, it was tough. It was tough to navigate that process and try to strike balance between all the different opinions about what you should do and shouldn't do. And I think, you know, having a group of other city managers to reach out to just to say, well, what are you doing? Well, I'm doing it like this. What do you think? Well, that sounds pretty good. I think I'll try that. You know, it was a lot of trial and error. And I think that we did an excellent job of keeping our policies and procedures tight, and also, again, continuing to provide service. I tell people all the time, you know, while you had a lot of businesses that just closed for a period of time, the government can't do that, right? Everyone's essential. I mean, you can say police and fire are essential, but you still want your trash picked up, you want your limbs picked up, you know, and then all those folks have to be paid, and somebody has to make sure that our fleet vehicles are still running.
Right.
So there's just, no one is, you know, everyone's essential at the government level. So
That's a good point.
thank you.
Good.
I'll tell you, I was not looking for a job, but it was a good opportunity for me. And I've always really felt like I wanted to try the consulting side of things and work in the private sector. And hopefully it was the right decision. We won't know for a while, right? But I'm going to just really miss the staff here. And luckily we don't have to move. So the job affords some flexibility, travel some, work from home. My kids are active kids, 13 and 10. So it'll be nice to have some flexibility there to
Sure.
be a little bit more present. So.
Well, that's good. That's
Yeah.
good that you don't have to move to Charleston, although that doesn't sound like an awful thing.
No, I love to visit Charleston, but you know, it's a really neat opportunity to take a skill set and go help a smaller community. A lot of smaller communities, they don't have the resources to hire a city manager, and so to be able to just go and help those smaller towns, whether it's write a grant or help them with a.
Oh, that's what you'd be doing?
Yep.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, so it's really just using the city manager's skill set to help towns who need assistance.
Sounds similar to what your predecessor did.
A little, yeah, it's very similar. It's very similar. The field services managers there at the municipal association, it's very similar to that, except public versus private sector, you know.
Sure.
But you know, they can't spend days and days and days with the same community. You know, they're helping with whatever's needed of them. Versus if you hire someone, you know, contractually you can say, I need you here 4 days a week for 3 months.
Right.
So.
Yeah. So what advice would you have for Ryan Thomas, the interim city manager?
I think, well, yeah, he's been, I hired him almost as soon as I became the city manager.
Okay.
I wanted to hire somebody who I thought had skills that were offsetting to mine. You know, everyone doesn't have the exact same skill set, and he has a lot of knowledge in areas where I felt like I needed to improve. So he's helped me, and I've helped him learn. So I think he's similar to me in his leadership style would be. But what I would say to him is to just try not to get so overwhelmed. I mean, because it happens very, very quickly. And when I hire new department heads, I always say, like, don't burn at both ends, because it doesn't take very long until you're completely burned out.
Good point.
And I think as our society just progresses, people are more demanding of your time. Everybody wants everything right now. And so you have to, I think, establish whatever your baseline is. With everyone. I think not just with the public, you have to do it with your staff. You have to do it across the board. Set that in the beginning.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just jumping all over the place all the time.
Sure.
You know, I I think the last 3 years have been so just treading water, just trying to let's just survive whatever this is, you know. And
Right.
we've done an excellent job of that. And now it's time to move forward, to use ARPA money, to leverage what you have with all the funding that's available at the federal level and the state level, and leverage that money and turn it into more money to just move the city forward. There are a lot of things just kind of right on the fringe that are ready to move forward.
That sounds exciting. Is there anything you could talk about future projects?
Well, we have the city center master plan that that city council adopted, and I believe I can't remember because COVID, it was supposed to be in 2020, but then it got pushed. I think they adopted it officially in 2021.
Okay.
But
is that the roundabout?
You don't say that. It's like a bad word. See, that'll get you some negative Facebook comments.
I'm gonna leave this in.
That was the narrowing of Main Street, which there are options with and without roundabouts.
Okay.
There's also a 2-lane option, a 4-lane option, but it's really just that pushing that phase 2 of what the downtown's going to look like. I think there's going to be a big component with connectivity to Lander and also to the existing Heritage Trail down where the trains are, the Railroad Historical Center, to provide connectivity. There's a plan for a nice sort of Central Park over on the eastern side of the square. So you kind of shift the road, and then it would free up a bunch of green space.
Great.
There are recommendations in there to take down the arcades. That one also gets a lot of feedback.
Don't tell anybody.
Bill Wilson, I'm not doing that. There is
The arcades are the part on the square that makes you can't see the storefronts.
Right. It provides access to the second floor.
Ah.
It would take a lot of work to do that, but it would really be transformative for our downtown, honestly. Those buildings are beautiful, but you can't see them.
That's right.
Yeah. There's also going to be a pretty good push towards residential uptown. And then just generally I'll tell you the reason, probably the number one reason that I had such a hard time leaving, other than the staff, is that I really had, a drive and a desire to work on housing on I would say like the fringe of the uptown. And Ryan and I talk about it a lot, so I know that's an endeavor that he'll continue, even if he doesn't become the long-term city manager and just, says, I'm going to slide right back into my assistant role, which sometimes is the best place to be. I know that he will continue to drive that with whoever the new city manager is. And I think with so much funding available that's coming down from the federal government, there's a lot of funding for housing.
Great.
A lot. And I think we really need to capture it.
And with expansion right now in Uptown, later today I'm interviewing Steve Riley.
What time is that? I'll be sure to drop by.
Yeah, we're right after this.
At his new place?
Yes.
Good.
We're going to do the axe throwing as well.
He's been aggravating me about a key to the ice machine because he really likes our ice machine. So let's come down there and give him a hard time.
Steve Riley, Emerald Ink and Stitch is moving on Maxwell, as well as his axe throwing.
Yeah.
And then this morning spoke to Sydney Husky, who's opening up
Brewery. Oh, yeah. I don't remember the name of it.
Sled Dog.
Okay.
Sled Dog something.
It's in the old LC's bakery on
right.
the Exchange.
Yeah, the back of
off
the
of Waller.
Exchange.
Yeah.
So, and then the YMCA.
Yeah, that's supposed to open towards the end of this month, isn't it?
All right in Uptown. So.
Yeah, there's a lot of business expansion that we can't even talk about. So. There's
I'll try
a lot.
my best. I'll find out and let you know.
He scoops us a lot.
Okay, is there anything, this is my last question, you want to say to Greenwood?
Well, Greenwood's my hometown. I grew up here, right? I was, it was my pleasure to serve this city and the citizens for 12 and a half years. Bittersweet, who knows, maybe I'll be back one day.
There you go.
I look forward to staying engaged with community events and even the Festival of Discovery. I'm going to be Volunteer of the Year, so you'll still see me with my yellow shirt uptown during the barbecue festival.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.